Hello and welcome to Ahrex fly tying. My name is Håkan and today I will be tying a salmon fly on a double hook. And the pattern I've chosen is a pattern called the Red Abbey, which is sort of a classic hairwing fly. It's perfect for if you're fishing for salmon in sort of a more colored water. This brownish, reddish color is good for that type of fishing. So let's start. I'm using the Ahrex HR Home Run 428 size 6. And we start by tying in some silver tinsel, oval, fine. This will make the tag at the end of the fly. But as I'm using floss for the body, I want to make it as even as possible underneath. So I actually start with the silver tinsel just behind the hook eye and tie it in on the underside of the hook all the way back. Be careful with the 2 hook points. So if you narrow the thread as I do, you're out of reach of these sharp hook points. And then I just wind, make 5-6 turns down in the hook bends like this. And then I just pull the silver over the tag. Back the thread again. And then we just tie it in. And before we cut it off, we tie it down on the upside of the hook shank, above it, all the way to the hook eye. And then we cut off the waste material. And now we take silver again, oval, but this time slightly bigger, small. This is for the ribbing. Actually, the original pattern calls for flat silver tinsel. You can use that if you want, but I'm using this oval. So we do it as we did with the tag silver, tie it down along the shank all the way back. And the tail is made of a couple of fibres from a red sort of feather. This is, you can use goose or duck or whatever. We just cut off 3 or 4 fibers, maybe slightly more. That's nice. And just make sure I get it long enough, sort of half the hook shank maybe, a bit more. And just tie it down on top of the hook shank. Like this. And then we just tie it down all the way back to the hook eye and cut off. And now for the body, we're using red flosssilk. Tie it in behind the eye and then make even turns. Try to untwist the floss so it lays flat onto the hook shank. Make sure you cover everything. And watch out for the hook point so you don't ruin the floss. Make sure you cover it all the way back to the tag and then move forward again. And tie it in. And now it's just the ribbing. The rib is, well, let's say 4-5 even turns. And tie it in. The hackle is made of brown hackle. You can choose rooster if you want. I'm using hen hackle. And I make it as long as it reaches down to the hook points or the hook barb. So I just raise the fibers and cut off the tip. You can cut it off after you tied it in, but it's easier to get it closer when you tie it in. And then I try to sort of double the hackle. It's quite easy to get bleeding fingers if you try to pull the hackle backwards because of the hook points, but if you do it like this, it lays back nicely. And there we have it. You can, if you want, try to split it up and tie it down, but it's a bit tricky. On this size of the hook, you can reach, so you can tie it down. Otherwise, on smaller hooks, it's almost impossible. The wing is, as you understand, a hair wing, and I'm using a dyed squirrel tail. You can use, if you have a natural fox tail, that's also perfect, or a natural brown, but this is a dyed grey one. So we just cut off a bundle of hair. That's nice. And as you're aware, the squirrel hair in itself is quite stiff, hard. It doesn't give in for the tying thread as softer material does. So just to make sure it doesn't fall off or pulled off, I measure the wing and I cut off the end like this. And just before I tie it in, I just add a small drop of varnish. So it will soak in together and with the tying thread, and make sure it doesn't come off when you fish, or make sure it's nice. And to finish off this fly, I'm using Jungle Cook for the sides, and I'm using this Pro Sportfisher Jungle Cook substitute in the size 3X small, which is perfect for this size. They are all pre-cut, so it's just to pull them out or cut them off with, in the end, with the scissors, and then we tie them in. As you can see, it's quite long substitute, but I don't need it all, so I just tie in as much as I need and just cut off the part I don't need, like this. And you will see it on your side. Make sure it's even. As you can see, I don't use the whole feather substitute. Now we just cut it off easily with the sharp scissors. And now it's just covering everything with the thread. And make a whip finisher. A whip finish, sorry. And there you have it. And I always put some extra varnish on the head, maybe 2 or 3 layers. Just put it on and let it sink in and dry, and then just put it on a couple of more times. And there you have it, the Red Abbey.